Alrighty, y'all. Hello and welcome to what should be a very educational video. We're taking a look at my healthcare experience in Europe as an American. We'll see where in Europe, to be exact, of course, as it could vary. But we've heard this before many times on the channel in a more general sense, right? That it's just better, it's cheaper, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to take a look at this because it's a little more, hopefully a more in-depth, testimonial from an American experiencing a totally different healthcare system. Well, quite frankly, a normal one, at least what should be normal in most of the world. This is from a channel called Life of Carl and be linked in the description down below. Make sure and check it out. Here we go.
Healthcare experience when I went to Europe. So I just got back from a trip to Europe. I went to Barcelona in Spain, and then I flew to Amsterdam. I was in Barcelona for a week. I was in Amsterdam for a week too, and then I went to Vals, which is in southern Holland, for my uncle's wedding. And I went to Mönchengladbach, Germany, for 2 days. And then
Sounds like a pretty good trip.
So when I was in Amsterdam, I hurt my foot. I went dancing for too long in a nightclub.
What?
And the next morning when I woke up, my foot was like, it hurt really bad. It really felt like someone had taken a hammer and smashed right behind my toes on my left foot. And it was swollen, but there was no marking.
Swollen?
So really, I was kind of confused. I was like, why does it hurt? And I guess I just had overstressed it.
Wonder if it was strained or what the hell?
So I took it easy for a couple days, and then I decided, then I went on a walking tour of Amsterdam. I did a guided tour of the red light district and this museum tour and stuff like that. So I was walking around for 2 hours straight.
After the foot thing?
That's no problem. I walked 6 miles a day when I was in Barcelona, and I've been biking around all the time in Amsterdam.
I wonder if all the walking, even beforehand, started this bad chain of events for his foot. Wonder if his body was just shocked by all that, and then all the walking, all the differences, right? And then dancing. I wonder if it just totally shocked his system. And something gave out.
Tour, my foot was just hurting really badly. And I was limping, and I knew it was no good. So the next day, I drove with my uncle to Vals because we were going there for his wedding. And not much improvement at all. I think I waited one more day, and then on the day of the wedding was starting at 1:32, something like that. I was like, okay, I gotta go to the doctor. This is
the day of the wedding.
Improving.
Oh my god!
So
no way.
I was at a hotel, so I asked the hotel reception, where's the nearest doctor? So they pointed out on the map for me, and it was like a block or 2 blocks away. I think it was 3 blocks.
That's awesome.
So I called them up.
That's already a telltale sign that you are in a European country, or a European city, rather. Right? If you're at a hotel near me and you ask where the nearest doctor is in a pinch, chances are it's probably not 2 blocks away. It's probably more 5 or 6 miles away for the closest one. So that's already a telltale sign. That's a nice convenience.
And the recording line was in Dutch, so I had no idea. I speak German and Spanish pretty well, but I can't speak Dutch, so I had no idea what they were saying on the recording line. So I said, screw it, I'm just going to go straight there. So it was I think it was around 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, something like that, on a Thursday. And I walked there, I limped to the doctor's office.
Sounds terrible.
So I get there, and I check in, and I just go up to the desk and I say, hey, how's it going? I got this problem, blah, blah, blah. They take my ID, they scan it, they tell me that it's going to be 25 euros for the doctor to check me out. So keep in mind, I'm an American citizen. I live in California. I have health insurance here, but I don't have, it's not international health insurance. So I'm over there, I am not a citizen, and I have no health insurance.
So they scanned, I'm assuming his ID would have been his American, his California driver's license or something, right? They know he's not a resident. He doesn't have any international, some sort of insurance, right? So just straight up no insurance, foreign person, and he gets checked right in, 25 euros. That's it. Already off to an amazing start compared to here. Let me just say that. Oh my God.
They tell me, okay, so it's going to be 25 euros for the doctor to see you. So I say, okay, all right, that's like what a copay is in America.
Yeah, if you have insurance. Copay, honestly, usually it's more than that in my experience. Usually $50 or $75. That's your copay, what you pay even with insurance to just, get in the door and see the doctor. And then you hope the insurance covers whatever's happens after that.
So I go, I had to get cash. They wanted me to pay in cash. So I was like, that's fine. So there's an ATM across the street. So I went and got the cash, and then I waited probably like 10 minutes, maybe. It might have even been less than that. It was like 10, 15 minutes. I went and saw the doctor. She examined my foot. She did a thorough job. She looked at it. She said...
He said he waited 10 minutes? That's freaking nothing. Dude, even here, when you have an appointment, sometimes they're like 5 or 10 minutes late. And if you just walk in like he did, again, this is his story's anecdotal. My stuff's anecdotal, but whenever I walk in somewhere, whenever we've had to do that in the past, dude, it usually takes 30 to 60 minutes. And that's a pretty big window, but not 5 or 10 minutes. So that's already faster. All you hear from the American like anti-universal healthcare people, which I just am mind blown that exists. But unfortunately, a lot of Americans think like that. The first thing you always hear is like, oh, it takes, don't you know, with their system over there, over wherever, right? It takes 6 hours, 8 hours to see someone, blah, blah, blah. That's the first thing you hear is you have to wait forever all the time because everyone's got universal health care and, everyone uses it all the time. So that's funny to hear that he's literally a foreigner, walks in, pays 25 euros, and is seen within 10 minutes. What are we doing here, right? Sounds like the system ain't half bad.
She asked me questions, blah, blah, blah. She looked at my other foot to compare. My left one was kind of swollen and blah, blah, blah. So she looked at the foot. She said, okay, I think you need an x-ray. I think it has like a stress fracture. And, she heard my whole story and everything. She said, I don't have an x-ray machine here, but I can write you an x-ray recommendation for a hospital. So
damn.
I said, okay, that sounds good. She wrote me the recommendation, and then she said, I can give you it's like a painkiller / anti-inflammatory prescription. So I went, so I said, okay, great. That sounds good. I'll take the prescription. So she gave me the prescription. There was a pharmacy in the downstairs of the doctor's office.
Wow.
So I went down the elevator, went to the pharmacy.
That works. Again, usually here you'd get the prescription. You got to drive over to, keyword drive, not walk. Got to drive 5-10 minutes minimum to wherever part of town has the nearest pharmacy. Definitely not going to be in the same area or same building, rather.
Prescription and
cool.
It was €7 for
wow.
this painkiller / anti-inflammatory
with no insurance
pill. So
that's incredible.
It was funny because they said, "Oh, do you want a receipt so you can try to get your health insurance to pay for it?" And I just started laughing. I was like,
over €7.
What's the point? I'm going to spend like an hour on the phone to try to get.
That's an American point of view right there. Accurate. What's the point? €7? We're used to disputing costs when we're talking about $700 or $1,000. Then you got to, hash it out with the insurance and make all the calls and get that covered. €7, I wouldn't even worry about that. That's like a dream.
€5 from the insurance company or whatever. So he's like, no, it's fine. Don't worry. So I had the painkiller and I had the doctor, the recommendation for an x-ray. Okay, so the next day, so the wedding happens. The next day, my foot's actually feeling a little better, probably due to the pill she had given me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm driving with my relatives to Mönchengladbach, which is pretty close to the German-Dutch border. So my aunt, my great aunt, she takes me to the basically the emergency room in her town, Mönchengladbach.
Whoa.
So I go there. They had me fill out a little bit of paperwork. They photocopy my ID. I signed a couple things. I check in. Then I go back to the emergency room. I probably waited about a half hour. I think I did a phone call and I read a couple of news articles on my phone. It was a half hour, and this is an emergency room.
Again, with the unbelievable perspective. So first off, even before talking about waiting time or cost or anything, no one's just going to casually be like, you know what, let's go to the ER, right? That's not what happens here in the U.S. You ain't doing that. Doesn't matter if you have insurance or not. That's just like this heavy weight. Like you don't want to go to the ER. That is your last resort. That is your oh shit, moment if you think I got to go to the ER, right? So that already is just a different frame of mind, and it's pretty fascinating to hear. And then again, half an hour. He walks into an ER, half an hour. That's it. That's extremely fast. Again, goes against what you always hear from everyone over here when they talk down upon everyone else's healthcare. They would act like you'd have to wait days. Clearly not the case always. And I'm sure there's cases for both, long waits, short waits. I know this is one guy's experience, but this is real life, right? Especially as a foreigner, right? Like he's not a taxpayer in Germany or wherever he was at each point here, but he's still getting good service, and it's quick and it's extremely affordable, which is just fascinating for me to hear.
And again, I have no insurance and I'm not a German citizen. So go there. I wait about a half hour.
Wow.
I go to see the doctor.
That wait would be hours here.
Story.
Hours.
Then she says, okay, we're going to give you an x-ray. So I walk down to the x-ray room. They do the x-ray. I go to the reception room in the x-ray wing of the hospital, and they say, okay, your charge is 20 euros for the x-ray. So
wow.
I'm like, all right, great. That sounds good. 20 euros. So I go back up.
God.
They look at my x-ray. They say, okay, you don't have stress fracture, but you need to take it easy for a bit. They're like, you have lots of inflammation. And
that x-ray, let's look up. And this is even hard to get some real stats because it, of course, would vary. But let's look up like what an x-ray would be with no insurance in Illinois. X-ray cost in Illinois. I, of course, spelled Illinois wrong there. Let's see. So this is the key word we want. See, it says $40 to $250, a weird range, right? Try to make it sound a little more affordable than it is. In reality, he did a hospital x-ray, correct? That's what he did. So a hospital x-ray might cost $250 or more. And unfortunately, it's just like pain Americans feel from experience. Like, I think it would have to be a little more, honestly. And unfortunately, stuff like this tends to be more than you would think it was. This is another chart here, costs for x-rays if you don't have insurance. And, of course, at like a urgent care or some sort of x-ray center, it might be a little less, but, he went to the hospital. So let's do the same here in the U.S. Look at the hospital cost. Again, arm or leg x-ray, $250 to $1,000, $300 to $800, blah, blah, blah. So his would fall under arm or leg because it was his foot. So yeah, $500 to $1,000. I would say $250 would be extremely lucky. Regardless, it was 20 euros where he was. So yeah, I would say that's quite the stark difference.
you just got to take it easy and etc.
Wow.
So they give me this, they give me like a pain cream, and they wrap my foot up, and they send me on my way. So I leave the hospital, and I tell my aunt, I'm like, yeah, they only charged me 20 euros. And she, you know how the Germans are. She's like, oh, that's not right. You probably owe them a little more. So I was like, all right, whatever. So we go back to the billing office.
No way.
And determine that I owe them another 60 euros. So my total charge,
still not bad,
for visiting an emergency room in Germany was 80 euros. And that.
Okay, 80 euros. Okay, a little more. Still not bad. Still a quarter of the cost at minimum. Because like we said, 250 would be on the low end here. It would honestly probably be more than that. So still nothing compared to what it would cost here. Also, that would never happen in the U.S. If you get underbilled, just consider it you hit the lottery that day. No one's going back to pay. To say, hey, I think I owe you more and pay it.
So
no one's doing that here.
If you did the same thing in the United States and you didn't have health insurance, and especially if you weren't a citizen, I'm sure the X-ray would probably cost at least $300 or $400, and then just the fact that you're in the emergency room would at least be another couple hundred. So you'd probably be at the door $500.
Yeah, there would be a hospital or ER charge
citizen,
too.
No health insurance,
keep in mind.
Charge me 80 euros.
Usually ER is always four figures, aka $1,000 minimum. That's just how it is here usually.
And I was happy. I waited a half hour at the emergency room, and I waited like maybe 15 minutes at the doctor's office in Holland. So
wow.
Overall, I think my experience was pretty good, and I was happy that I didn't have a fracture, because that would have really ruined the rest of my trip. And
Yeah.
so it was really good. But I just hope that this leads to a further discussion about the healthcare system we have in the United States, because over there they have a combo of, it's mostly universal healthcare, so it's like single payer universal healthcare where the government pays for it. And in Germany, you can buy, I think in Holland too, you can buy supplemental healthcare insurance. So like if you're, for some reason you're not happy with it, then you can pay extra money.
Yeah. I think that's a good system. It's a hybrid system. You have something you can count on, which is a standard universal healthcare that everyone can access, right? And it's extremely affordable, basically like no cost, right? Paid for by the government, by the taxes, blah, blah, blah. That's awesome. And then if you really want top tier, whatever reason you would want the private care, you can, get bonus care, right? Isn't that how it pretty much works? You could pay a little bit, which is still probably cheaper than ours. You could pay for somewhat, privatized health insurance. So you have that option too. It's really how it should be. I don't know why we can't do that here. I like his message here. He went and experienced this, and he's saying, why can't we have this discussion in the U.S.? Well, we can. I think people do. I think a lot of people here still don't realize that we just get screwed on healthcare, that our system's completely messed up and broken. Some would say it's working as intended, and I actually think that way now too. It isn't broken. It's a sick care model, right? Like the healthier American, millions of Americans are, the less money hospitals, private hospitals and medicine, or I guess pharmaceutical companies make, right? I mean, they just make billions and trillions here. It's big time money, and unfortunately, it's hard not to think like that nowadays with all the crazy stuff that comes out over the last couple decades, with technology and social media. Word gets around, you can do a lot of research. It's just crazy here. It really is. It's a shame. I don't know why we can't have something like this. The weird bullet points that Americans try and argue, like, oh, well, their taxes pay for it. You're definitely paying. Yeah, trust me. Like, you don't want to see my tax receipts. We pay taxes here. We pay a lot more than Americans lead on. The only difference is I pay, I feel like a bunch of taxes, but I don't get anything in return. Still have to pay, thousands per month in health insurance. That also is a flip of the coin if it covers it. And it's just like this whole thing, right? This guy gets covered. It barely costs a thing. He gets an x-ray immediately at the hospital. Here it's just like a bunch of red tape and go here, go there. You have to wait a few days. It's like slow and clunky here, and it's expensive. I think a country as big and rich as the U.S. claims to be, I feel like we could totally afford this. Like other countries afford it. Why can't we? Right? That's very frustrating, but it's cool to hear his experience because what a refreshing kind of way of seeing something that is just such a mess in your own country, right? You got to experience universal healthcare, and it wasn't a horror story. It was pretty nice. And what's funny is, in my opinion, he experienced what like normal healthcare is, because that's normal in most countries. The way we do it here, the astronomical costs and stuff, and all this crazy red tape, I feel like that's not normal, at least on the global scale. Very interesting video. I would love to hear your comments on this one. I feel like that's going to be pretty good. Comment section. That's going to be it for this one. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, y'all, stay safe out there. I'll catch you later.